Jai Sri Ram. By the grace of Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Ram, Lord Sri Jagannath, we will continue the story of Ramayana part 3, The War, chapter 2, Panic in Lanka. So, if you have not watched the previous chapter of Ramayana, you may go to the playlist and watch all the videos so that you can connect the story of Ramayana from the beginning till to this chapter. Here in this chapter 2 started like this. In Lanka, Ravana had assembled his ministers for a full council meeting. Seeing the terrible changes, carnage, and destruction wrought by Hanuman, the demon spoke to his advisor. The city, which we previously thought unassailable, has been penetrated and watched by a merry monkey. My gardens are destroyed. Our temple has been outraged, and some of the topmost Rakshasas have been slain, including my own son Prince Aksha. Indeed, that wretched monkey has single-handedly turned the city upside down. Ravana looked around at his advisors. He asked them to carefully deliberate and then decide on their next course of action. The demon king was apprehensive. He was sure that Ram and uh, his army would somehow cross the ocean before long, and Hanuman's demonstration of strength and power had been astonishing. If the rest of the monkeys were like him, Ravana continued, I am depending upon your advice, O Rakshasas. It is said that he is a wise person who, before an undertaking, seeks the counsel of a learned person versed in the scripture. However, he who simply acts without due consideration and advice with uh, advice will quickly come to ruin. The demons king generals were all powerful, but they lacked intelligence and political wisdom. Without understanding the full intent and power of Banner force, they spoke of them derisively. The Rakshasa boasted of their own powers, dismissing Ram and his army as being of no consequence. They reminded Ravana how he had defeated the god Gandharvas, Yakshas, Nagas, Daityas, Danavas, and other hosts in battle. Ravana had even repulsed death himself. What fear could he have of an army of human and animals? One of the mightiest Rakshasa, Prahasta, stood up and with his palms folded towards Ravana, spoke in a voice that boomed like a thunder. We were caught unawares by Hanuman, who sneaked in into Lanka. Had I been prepared for him, then that monkey would not have left this city alive. Indeed, I can sweep the entire globe clean of a monkey in no time at all. Simply command me, O Lord. Another powerful Rakshasa and named Virupaksha stood up and spoke furiously, holding aloft his frightful iron bludgeon, which was slain with flesh and blood. How can we tolerate this monkey affront? Order me, and I shall leave this very hour. I will smash Ram and Lakshman with my iron club and cross the entire monkey army, even if they flee in the dread deep or take refuge in the heavens. They shall not escape my wrath. One Rakshasa suggested that they employed trickery, trickery, disguising themselves as humans and infiltrating Ram's army. They could pretend to be a contingent dispatched by Ram's brother Bharata. Once they entered his army, the rest of the Rakshasa could attack from the air. The Vanara army would then be torn to be pieces by a two-pronged assault before both from within or without. One after another, each of the leading Rakshasa declared that he alone could defeat Ram and his troops. Ravana should remain peaceful in Lanka. The demon forces would swiftly cross the ocean and annihilate the monkeys before they could even approach the city. Standing together, the Rakshasa general raised a great tumult in Ravana's assembly hall. They grasped their bow, arrow, spears, spikes, javelins, and iron mace and asked Ravana for his order to depart for battle. Vibhishana, Ravana's young brother, then stood up as the clamor of the other demons died down. He spoke to Ravana. The wise declared that force should only be used after other method of achieving one's aim have failed. Furthermore, force is said to be likely to succeed only when the enemy is weaker, devoid of virtue or commanded by their own adverse faith. Ram is ever alert and possesses boundless might. He is virtue incarnate and is oscillated by every divine power. No one who knows what is best would counsel an attack of Ram. Vivasana was not like the other Rakshasa. He, sorry, Vivisana. Vivisana was not like the other Rakshasa. He did not share their inclination upon wanton living and violent behavior. Although he was Ravana's blood brother, Vibhishana was given to meditation and the practice of virtue. He also realized Ram's divine nature. He spoke gravely, intent on his brother's welfare. Have you forgotten how Ram disposed of Khara and his troops? Think carefully about Hanuman's feat in leaping across the ocean and reaching Lanka. Do not underestimate the power of Ram and his servants. Bibhisana advised Ravana to give Sita back to Ram. If he did not do so, then before long he would witness the total destruction of Lanka. All the heroic Rakshasa would perish like moth entering a fire. Vibhishana advised Ravana to give Sita back to Ram. If he did not do so, then before long he would witness the total destruction of Lanka. All the heroic Rakshasa would perish like moth entering a fire. Ravana should pursue the path of righteousness if he wanted to see his city and the followers survive. Ravana listened to his brother without comment. He did not like Vibhishana's advice, but it made him somewhat circumspect. The demon king then dismissed his assembly, saying he would decide the next day what should be done. The following day, at dawn, Vibhishana again approached Ravana. As he passed through the long, wide passageways of Ravana's palace, he heard the sound of Vedic humans being chanted by the Atudhanas, blessing the Ravana's king that he might attain victory. Vibhishana knew that Ravana was not going to achieve victory against Ram. He had to avert the total devastation of his people, which he now saw as imminent. Vibhishana entered Ravana's chamber and greeted his brother with gentle and soothing words. Ravana glanced over at an ornate golden seat, and Vibhishana sat down, looking intently upon his brother. Vibhishana had studied all the code of religion. He knew what was right in every circumstances, and he now rendered beneficial advice to Ravana. Ever since Sita was abducted, there have been numerous bad omens in Lanka. The sacrificial fire emits sparks and he is enveloped by smoke. The cow's milk has dried up. Horse night doleful, even though well fed and tended. Crows swarm about, uttering harsh cries. Jackal hulk ominously day and night. Vibhishana described many other types of evil portents and again asked Ravana to return Sita to Ram. This action alone will save you. All the other Rakshasa and this city from destruction. Vibhishana said, even if you find me in some way self motivated, you should not ignore my advice. For doing so will have terrible consequences. Ravana sat shaking his head. He grunted contemptuously and replied to his brother, How can Ram stand before me in battle? Under no circumstances shall I return Sita. No, today in council I shall issue order for battle." Vibhishana shook in his head sorrowfully. It was hopeless. Ravana seemed bent upon his own destruction. Ravana dismissed Bibhisana and sat boarding for a while. He had to save Sita. He had to have Sita. For the last 10 months, he had tried everything to win her over and was not going to give up now. If he could only kill Ram, then surely she would be won. But this Ram was no ordinary man. That much was obvious. And if the monkey were all like Hanuman, then he had a real battle on his hands. No matter. There was no question of an ignominious surrender. A fight to be to the last was the only thing acceptable. If Ram were a mere mortal man, then he would certainly succumb to the might of the Rakshasa. And if he were Vishnu himself, well, defeat at the hand of a powerful foe was never shameful. Ravana would not be covered by any enemy. He would fight. The demon rose up and swept towards his assembly hall, followed by bards who uttered poems in his praises. Coming from his inner chambers, he mounted a golden chariot and sped down the wide road that led to the hill. He was surrounded on all sides of Rakshasa, attired in diversely strelled robes and adorned with every kind of jewels. These powerful Rakshasa capable of contending single-handedly with tens of thousands of warriors. Roared loudly, they hailed of rage, opens weapons of every sort of their hand. As Ravana and his generals approached the hall, trumpets blared and conch sails blasted. Innumerable cattle drums were beaten, and as the demon king went through the great doorway into his hall, Ravana strode across the golden floor of the hall towards his uh, crystal throne, which was spread with the skins of the Priyoka deer. After taking his seat, he ordered that a full council of war be assembled. Immediately, swift messengers flew off to every part of the city, calling for all the Rakshasa leaders. Hearing Ravana's order, the mighty Rakshasa rushed towards the assembly hall from all directions. Some mounted great chariots, some rode elephants, and others ran on foot. They quickly entered the assembly hall as lion might enter a rocky mountain cave. After prostrating themselves before Ravana, they took their seats, each according to his rank. As they sat gazing on their ruler's face, they appeared like the Bhaishurs surrounding Indra. Pursues surrounding Indra. Vibhishana took his seat next to Ravana on a throne of gold. When Ravana saw that everyone was present and sitting silently, he turned to Prahasta and spoke. You should issue order to ensure that Lanka's defense are fortified. All four kinds of troops should be made ready for a great fight each at hand. Prahasta immediately rose and gave order to his key Rakshasa. Within a short time, he returned to Ravana and said, "It is done." Ravana then addressed the entire assembly. All of you know well, our duty is all circumstances. My undertakings executed through all of you have never proved futile. I wish to enjoy the royal fortune forever, ruling over Lanka with justice and compassion. However, we now stand threatened by Rama and his army for the sake of Sita, whom I abducted. I cannot part with that lovely lady. Smitten as I am by the shaft of love, although she has no yet submitted to my advices. She has promised me that after 1 year he has passed, she will be mine. Therefore, I must, by all means, repulse Ram's attack. Oh Rakshasa, tell me if this meets with your approval or not. Ravana lied about Sita. She had never indicated that she would accept him at any time. He gazed around the assembly with his 10 hands, looking for his subject agreement, except perhaps of Vibhishana. He did not expect that any would argue with him, but suddenly his powerful brother Kumbhakarna stood up in a rage. Oh Rakshasa, you now seek our counsel. But what advice did you ask when you stole Sita from Ram? He thundered. Action taken without due consideration of their righteousness and without recourse to proper counsel led only to grief. On a impulse alone, you abducted Sita from Ram, and now you face a severe consequences. Fortunately, however, you have me as your well-wisher. I shall make good your foolish action by standing against Ram and Lakshmana on the battlefield. Give up your fear and rest at ease. The two human brothers will not return with life once they face me. Kumbhakarna, Kumbhakarna was as powerful as Ravana, but he had once been trickled by the gods into asking a boon from uh, Brahma that he might enjoy 6 months of sleep at a time. Brahma had thus said he would remain awake for only 1 day every 6 months. The day of council happened to be his 1 day of Wakefulness. The following day he would again fall into a deep slumber. He was nevertheless devoted to his brother and was prepared to do whatever he could to help him. Kumbhakarna was wise and he knew Ram was a formidable foe. He wanted to fight him and either attain a glorious victory or, as was more likely, die gloriously at Ram's hand. But first he would need to be awakened. Although smarting from his brother's admonishment, Ravana thanked Kumbhakarna for his support. Then Mahaprabha, a leader of some of the Ravana's troop, stood and asked him a question. My lord, having secured the beautiful Sita, why do you not simply enjoy her by force? Who can prevent you or do anything about it? Ravana then told them for a long past incident with Rambha. This is a secret I have never revealed. He said Nalakuver course was reinforced by the word of Brahma himself. Indeed, the powerful creator upon whom my own strength rests said that if I ever again violate a woman, my life will end immediately. Ravana looked around the assembly. The Rakshas were decided, uh, dedicated to him and ready to fight with any enemy on his behalf. They sat awaiting his command. The demon king boasted to them of his power. Surely Ram has not seen me in battle, as furious as the raging ocean and as swift as the wind. Otherwise, he would not be a foolish as to march on Lanka. He has not sent arrows like a flaming serpent with forked tongues loosed in millions from my bow. Ram wants to face death himself standing enraged on the battlefield. I shall consume Ram in no time. I will disperse his army as the sun disperses a morning mist. Ravana railed on for some time when he at last becomes silent. Vibhishana stood up to speak. He knew it was more or less hopeless. Ravana was already set on battle, but he had to make one last attempt to make his brother see sense. His voice echoed around the silent hall of everyone. Silence listened to his words. By whom has the immense and highly venomous serpent known as Sita being tied around your neck. The serpent had for its sharp fangs Sita's sweet smiles. Her bosom is its coils. Her 5 fingers are its 5 hoods, and her thoughts of Rama are its deadly poison. O Ravana, do not destroy your race before we see monkeys like great mountains bounding toward Lanka and arrows like a thunderbolt falling on the head of your warriors. Return Sita to Ram. Vibhishana tried at length to convince Ravana for his folly. Although he was rebuked by various Rakshasa, he insisted that the only way to save Lanka was to return Sita. He made it clear that it was his duty as a counselor to render advice conducive to the interest of his master. He would not neglect that duty out of weakness or fear, nor out of a desire to say something pleasing. Even if advice were distasteful, it should still be given by a counselor who properly understood his duty, and a wise leader was he who was able to hear both palatable and unpalatable advice, giving equal consideration to both. Indrajit became impatient and agitated upon hearing Bibhisana speak. He retorted, "How do you call yourself a Rakshasa? Oh, weak uncle! Surely you are devoid of courage, virility, prowess, heroism, and spirit. These two men who can be slain by any Rakshasa, even the most insignificant among us. Why then do you tremble in fear?" Indrajit bragged about his own strength. He had overcome a host of gods headed by Indrajit riding upon the celestial elephant Airavat. He vowed that he would kill Ram and Lakshmana personally. Bibhisana rebuked him with strong words, being a merry boy. Oh, your intelligence is not mature. You cannot see what is right or wrong. Dear child, although called a son, you are actually your father's enemy. You are evil minded and deserve death, for your counsel will lead only to the death of all those who listen to you. You are indiscriminate, duly weighted, wicked, and ignorant. You do not understand Ram's power. There are none among the gods, Daityas, Danavas, or Rakshas who can withstand the foaming arrow Rams will lose in combat. Ravana had Ravana had heard enough. He would not accept Vibhisana's advice. All he wanted now was to get on with the fight that lay ahead. He spoke furiously. It is better to live with an enraged serpent than a person who, although pretending to be a friend, he actually in league with the enemy. It is the fact that Nick flock unusually despise their chief, even though he may be carrying out of his duties. The greatest danger lies in one's own relatives. O disgrace of your race, for they may turn on one at any time. Although a brother, you are unworthy of my affection. Indeed, a bestowing love upon the unworthy obtains only grief. Ravana vented his anger, insulting Vibhisana in various ways. He told him that had he not been his brother, he would surely have killed him for his words. Bibhisana realized that there was nothing he could do to help the proud demon king. Along with his four ministers, who were his close followers and friends, he rose up into the air, station in space, in mace in hand. He spoke to Ravana, "You who have addressed me with harsh words, O king, are delayed. Say what you will, for your intelligence is lost. Those speaking pleasant words can easily be found. O Ravana, but one who speaks unpalatable truth is rare. one fallen under that sway doesn't heed the words of wisdom offering by a well-wisher. I have tried my best, wishing to save you from a certain destruction. Now be happy in my absence. I can no longer tolerate your abusive speech, even though you are my elder. Farewell. I shall now depart. Vibhisana soared away from the assembly hall, accompanied by his four friends. Ravana made no attempt to stop him and was glad to see him go. Now there were none who would oppose his desire. He issued order to prepare for battle. So this is the story how Ravana prepared for war for defense of Lanka in the panic in Lanka. What with the destruction? What Hanuman ji did in Lanka? Jai Jagannath, Jai Sri Krishna, Jai Sri Ram. If you like the story, you may like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to share. Thank you. Jai Jagannath.